Yes, Mataji. Krishna will share soon.
Yes, Mataji, I shared it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Udhirate Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nishtaki. Hare Krishna, devotees of Gauri Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. Today's reading will continue from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties of Mankind, Chapter 1, The History of Life of Ajamil, verses 53 to 68. Translations, readings only. Text number 53. Not a single living entity remain engaged for a moment. One must act by his natural tendency according to the three modes of material nature, because this natural tendency forcibly makes him work in a particular way. Text 54. The fruitive activities of a living being performs, whether pious or impious, are the unseen cause of fulfillment of his desires. This unseen cause is the root for the living entity's different bodies. Because of his intense desire, the living entity takes birth in a particular family and receives a body which is either like that of his mother or like that of his father. The gross and subtle bodies are created according to his desire. Text 55. Since the living entity is associated with material nature, he is in an awkward position, but he is in the human form of life. He is taught how to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee. This position can be overcome. Text 56 to 57. In the beginning, this Brahmana named Ajamil studied all the Vedic literatures. He was a reservoir of good character, good conduct, and good qualities, firmly established in executing all the Vedic injunctions. He was very mild and gentle, and he kept his mind and senses under control. Furthermore, he was always truthful. He knew how to chant the Vedic mantras, and he was also very pure. Ajamil was very respectful to his spiritual master, the fire god, guests, and the elderly members of the household. Indeed, he was free from false prestige. He was upright, benevolent to all living entities, and well behaved. He would never speak nonsense or envy anyone. Text 58 to 60. Once this Brahmana Jamil, following the order of his father, went to the forest to collect fruit, flowers, and two kinds of grass called Samit and Kush. On the way home, he came upon a Shudra, a very lusty fourth-class man, who was shamelessly embracing and kissing a prostitute. The Shudra was smiling, singing, and enjoying as if this were proper behavior. Both the Shudra and the prostitute were drunk. The prostitute's eyes were rolling in intoxication, and her dress had become loosened. Such was the condition in which Ajamil saw them. Text 61. The Shudra, his arm decorated with turmeric powder, was embracing the prostitute. When Ajamil saw her, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. Text 62. As far as possible, he patiently tried to remember the instruction of the Shastras, not even to see a woman. With the help of this knowledge and his intellect, he tried to control his lusty desires, but of the force of Cupid within the heart, he failed to control his mind. Text 63. In the same way, the sun and moon are eclipsed by a lower planet. the Brahmin lost his good sense. Taking advantage of this situation, he always thought of the prostitute, and within a short period, he took her as a servant in his house and abandoned all the regulative principles of a Brahmin. Text 64. Thus Ajmer began spending whatever money he had inherited from his father to satisfy the prostitute with various material presentations so that she would remain pleased with him. He gave up all his Brahmical activities to satisfy the prostitute. Text 65. Because his intelligence was pierced by the lustful glance of the prostitute, the victimized Brahmana Ajmer engaged in sinful acts in her association. He even gave up the company of his very beautiful young wife, who came from a very respectable Brahmical family. Text 66. Although born of a Brahmin family, this rascal, bereft of intelligence because of the prostitute's association, earned money somehow or other, regardless of whether property or improperty are, and used it to maintain the prostitute's sons and daughters. Text 67. This Brahmana irresponsibly spent his long lifetimes transgressing all the rules and regulation of the holy scripture, living extravagantly and eating food prepared by a prostitute. Therefore, he is full of sins. He is unclean and addicted to forbidden activities. The last text of the day, 68. This man, Ajmer, did not undergo atonement. Therefore, because of his sinful life, he must take him into the presence of Yamaraj for punishment. There, according to the extent of his sinful acts, he will be punished and thus purified. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 6th canto. Chapter 1 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled the history of the life of Ajmer. Thank you so much, Hari Krishna Prabhuji. Glory to Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, Venu, Das Prabhuji, please give the overview to these translations.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sri Radhe Hari Mataji, for reading today's Bhagavatam section translations. And thank you all for joining for today's Bhagavatam section. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 1, slokas 53 to 68. And the title of the chapter is The History of the Life of a Channel. So we'll start with the short prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschakta Deshatarani. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravaktarunda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all for giving this opportunity. So I am neither qualified nor realized to speak on this great transliteration, but for my own purification, I'll try to share a few points. I'll summarize what Prabhupada mentioned. So in the earlier canto, 5th canto, last chapter, Sukadeva Goswami spoke about various hellish planets and the punishments that one would get because of their sinful activities that they have done. And he mentioned there are many hellish planets that were not mentioned. And then in this chapter, 6th canto, 1st chapter, so Parikshit Maharaj asks how this human being can be saved from all these sinful reactions. Of course, Sukadeva Goswami speaks about Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, so where one can perform atonement for their sinful activities that they have done. But again, so the tendency of performing this sinful activities is not going. through the karma kanda or jnana kanda. So that's why they were both not very helpful for a living entity to completely get rid of the desire to do the root cause for the performing the sinful activities. So that's why Sukadeva Goswami talks about the bhakti yoga, where one can completely avoid the tendency of sinful life. And also, Sukadeva Goswami mentions that the Vedic literature concludes that the devotional service is more important than the method of karma kanda and jnana kanda. So to prove that strength of the devotional service, Sukadeva Goswami is describing the history of Ajamila. So where the Ajamila is a resident of Kanya Kubja, and he was trained by his parents to perform the Vedic ritualistic activities. But of course, because of his past life, so he was attracted to a prostitute and then fall down. So like that. And then he got 10 sons from the womb of the prostitute, and how he was performing sinful activities to maintain the family. Because he named his last son as Narayana. And when at the time of death, so when the Yamadutas came to take him to the abode of Yamaraj, so he was very fearful by seeing them. So he called Narayana because he was attached to his youngest son, so the last son. So then he also remembered the original Narayana. So because of that, the Vishnu Dutas came, and then there is a discussion between the Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. Of course, in the last session, we heard from His Grace Sundarama Prabhu, and the previous sessions also, like Vishnu Dutas asking, what is the process for punishing others? Who are the actual candidates for punishments, like that? And Yamadutas are replying now. And in the last session, we heard how our activities are watched by several representatives of the Supreme Lord. So it's not that no one is watching us. So whatever the activities that we do, there is a witness. And based on our actions, we will be either giving punishments or giving some facilities to enjoy in this material world. But ultimately, we are all forced to act based on the three modes in this material world. So we'll continue from there, how the Yamadutas are giving descriptions or answering to the Vishnu Dutas. So today we'll start from the 53 sloka to the end of the chapter 68. So in the 53 sloka, we see that here Yamadutas is mentioning that not even a single living entity can remain unengaged, even for a moment. And that is our natural tendency. And Prabhupada mentions that so our natural tendency is to serve all the time. So it's up to us whether we serve Maya and then suffer life after life or birth after birth, or serve Krishna, and so that we can be escaped from these sufferings and then be happy. So, but as long as we are in this material world, we are forced to work based on the three modes. That's what Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. So, prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa. So, as long as we are in this material world, we are forced to work under the influence of the three modes. So, as a struggling sadhaka, we may be sometimes performing activities because of the force of the three modes, which are not aligned with the spiritual activities. So that's why it is very important time to time to check ourselves, talking to myself, and correct our mistakes so that we can progress in the path of bhakti. So that at some point we can be able to escape from this suffering life. So in the 54th sloka, so Yamadutas are mentioning that so the fruity activities of a living being performs, whether it is pious or impious, the unseen cause is to fulfillment of his desires. So this is the root cause for the living entities to get a particular body. So they are going through different bodies because of the intense desire to do for the sense gratifications. So that's why the living entity takes a body. So what type of body you get is similar to either of his mother or his father. So, and the gross body and the subtle bodies are created according to his desire. So this is in this sloka we see that the cause of the living entities to take various material bodies is the desire for sense gratification. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that so the next gross body what we are going to get depends on what we are thinking while we are leaving the body, this current gross body. So, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejate ante kalevaram. So Prabhupada quotes that sloka, like, so whatever state of being one remembers when he quits the body, so that state he will attain without fail. So the gross body acts during our lifetime, but the subtle body acts at the time of death. So the subtle body, which is the body of desire, so is the background for the development of a particular type of gross body. And Prabhupada explains getting a body like either father or mother. So Prabhupada explains that so when male and woman or the husband and wife, they are engaged in the opposite gender activities union. So based on whose secretion is heavy, so based on that, the living entity gets that kind of body. If mother secretion is more, is profuse, then one would get the female body. If the father secretion is more, then one will get the father body. But ultimately, if we don't want to get any body, so we have to practice this Krishna consciousness so that we can remember Krishna at the time of leaving the body. Antakale chamameva smaranam mukta kalevaram. So when if we remember Krishna at the time of leaving the body, then we can go back home, back to Godhead. Of course, that's the aim of the human life. So one should try as best as one can. And then in the text 55, we see the how we can make our human life successful while we are in this material world and forcefully going through the influence of the three modes. Is given here like is human form of life is taught how to associate with Supreme Lord or his devotee. So then we can be able to overcome from this awkward position that we were put in by this material nature. So this is the solution that Swamadutas is mentioning here. Like, if we associate with the devotees, so then we can be inspired to perform the bhakti. So the activities of Krishna consciousness, starting with chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in that way, we associate with Krishna also. So then we'll be able to come out from this awkward position. So otherwise, material nature will put us time to time in the awkward position only. So in the 56 and 57, so we see that here, this Brahmana, Ajamila, the good qualities before he started performing sinful activities. So here is mentioned like, how this Brahmana is having this Ajamil has many wonderful qualities. Like, he's a reservoir of good character, good conduct, and good qualities, and is firmly established in executing all Vedic injunctions, and he is very mild, gentle, and his mind and senses are on control, was always truthful, and also how to chant the Vedic mantras, very pure. So he's respectful to his spiritual master. Like, so many wonderful qualities he has, and he never speaks nonsense or envy anyone. So you see that. So in the beginning, Ajamila has all the good qualities. So many good qualities, and Prabhupada mentions that would put him as a perfect Brahmana. But even such a personality who has all good qualities, he fell down from the path of dharma. So then what to speak of us? So that's why this pastime stresses us that we should be very careful or attentive while we are performing our activities time to time. So day to day. So that's why we have to check ourselves to see all our activities are aligned with the path of bhakti so that we can progress. So otherwise we will fall down from the Krishna consciousness, which is going to be a great loss. And in the scriptures also, we see that there are many examples were given where the great personalities were fell down while they were practicing the this path of bhakti. Like, Vishwamitra got attracted to Manaka and he fell down. Of course, temporarily they fell down, but they are back to the process again. So similarly, even if we try as best as we can not to be fall down from the path of bhakti, but even if we fell down, we have to check ourselves time to time and see all our activities are appropriate so that we can progress in the path of bhakti. So, and if not, then correct ourselves and then get back onto the track of the Krishna consciousness and progress ourselves in the path of bhakti so that we can be able to overcome from the awkward positions. And then the next sloka 58 to 60. So here we see that, the Ajamila following the order of his father. So one time he went to the forest to collect fruits, flowers, grass, like that. And on his way to home, so he saw that, one Sudra, so very lusty, and then he was embracing and kissing a prostitute. And they both were drunk. And this is the scene that Ajamila saw. Of course, as Kali Yuga progressing, so these scenes might be increasing. Even sometimes we will see even in public also, like, may not be prostitute, but even the boy and girl who are very young may probably kissing or embracing each other even in the public, especially in the Western countries. So our sometimes while we are walking, we could probably see this kind of pictures in the billboards as in advertisements, or as we are using the internet. While we are searching for something, these kind of things will come, like, so that's why it's very challenge to escape these kind of things in the modern world, today's Kali Yuga. So especially Prabhupada mentions that especially when a brahmachari sees these kind of scenes, so it becomes very difficult for him to control the urge of the opposite gender union. So that's Prabhupada gives the solution is to take shelter of the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day attentively, so then it will protect us like a shield from all these things. Like we see the example of Srila Haridas Thakur, So when he was allured by a prostitute, so he was chanting constantly. So not only he was protected, but of course, because of his pure chanting, so he also inspired this prostitute to become a great devotee. So, so this process of Krishna consciousness, especially the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, will help us. So that's why it is mentioned that so in the morning, if we can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra prescribed rounds, then when we go out, this will, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what we have chanted, will help us as a shield, and it will protect from the anything that comes out from the when we go outside and meet other people, like that. So in the text 61, see that this Sudra is decorated with turmeric powder and embracing the prostitute, and Ajamila saw her, and then his lusty desires, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. So we see here such a good qualities Brahmana, so Brahmana who has many wonderful qualities, unable to control the attraction of the opposite gender. So that's why Bhagavatam stresses very heavily. Like he says that so one should be very cautious while associating with the opposite gender. So we should be very careful. And the text 62 says that so he tried to remember the instruction of the Shastras, not even to see women. And with the help of this knowledge, he tried to control his lusty desires. But because of the force of Cupid, he failed to control his mind. Of course, controlling the mind is not a very simple thing. So Arjuna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalamihi Mana Krishna. Pramati Balava Dhridam. Like he says that Arjuna is a very powerful warrior. So he only admits that it's very difficult to control the mind. Then what to speak of as. So of course Krishna gives the advice how to control the mind. He says that uh, uh, practice every day. So suitable practice. So Prabhupada gave for us chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So if we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day without fail, and also develop a Yukta Vairagya or detachment. So engage all our time, our energy, our resources in the process of Krishna consciousness, or try to make all our activities centered with Krishna. So in that way, Krishna is saying that we can be able to control the mind. So in the text 63, so how this Brahmana lost all good senses, and then he was always thinking about this prostitute, and what he did is he took her as a servant, and he abandoned all the regulative principles of Brahmana. So this is what happened, like, so when a seed of lust, desire arises in our heart, if we don't cut that out while it is in the seed, so then it will become a strong tree. So we have to cut it with the sharp weapon of knowledge, and with the sincere practice of our Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we will start thinking about same lusty desires. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangas tejopajayate. Like, so when we contemplate the objects of the sense, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that it develops the attachment for them. So from that, lust increases more and more. And if the lusty desires doesn't fulfill, then what happens? Our anger will arise. So, and with the anger, we don't utilize our intelligence properly. So then we make mistakes, and then we perform sinful activities. So then we will suffer for those sinful activities. And if it is fulfilled, then the greed will come. Like, due to the greed, we want more and more and more and more. Of course, at some point, that more and more will not be fulfilled, and then we get anger. So, and due to that, we make mistakes. In the text 64, and we see that Ajamila is spending whatever money he had inherited from his father to satisfy the prostitute, so that she can be with him. And he gave up all his Brahmanical activities. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the desire for the opposite gender union ruins one's character. This Ajamila has wonderful character, but it was ruined because of the desire for having opposite gender union with this prostitute. So that's why one of the regulative principle for a sadhaka is illicit sex is strictly prohibited. So it's not only causes our fall down from the path of bhakti, which is a great loss, but it also creates a great disturbance. It will create a great havoc in our even in our material life. So we hear so many newses in the world, like how a wife will kill husband, or husband will kill wife because they are abstract to their their lusty desires to be fulfilled with some other man or woman, like that. Not only they kill themselves, or they will also sometimes they'll kill their own kids also, because they are blocked like that. So in text 65, so because his intelligence was pierced by the lustful glance of the prostitute, so Ajamila engaged in sinful acts in her association, and due to that he gave up his beautiful young wife, who came from very respectable Brahmana family. So we can see that how one can be degraded due to the attachment of the illicit sex. So he not only left his beautiful young wife, but he also engaged in sinful activities. Though he has that knowledge that due to the sinful activities, one would suffer heavily, but still the lusty desires dominated him, and then he was engaged in the sinful activities. And the text 66, Although this Ajamala is born in a Brahmana family, so very fit of intelligence, so he earned money somehow or other, whether it is properly or improperly, to maintain the prostitutes' sons and daughters. So this was the situation of the Ajamila. Because of the association of this prostitute, so he lost all his good qualities. So that's why this also shows the power of the association. So if we are associated with the people who are lusty or materialistic, then we will also acquire those kind of things. Lord Rishabhadeva mentions in Bhagavatam, like Tamodvaram Yositam Sangi Sangam. So like, we associate with the people who are fond of the opposite gender, then we also perform those kind of activities, and then the path of the hell is wide open. But if we associate with the devotees, Mad Sevam Dwaram Ahuri Mukte. So then, with the association of the devotees, we can be able to go back to God. So that's why it is always important for us. We keep ourselves in the association of the devotees. Some or other we be in the association of the devotees, so that we can be saved from the fall down of our progress of the Krishna consciousness. In the text 67, and this Brahmana irresponsibly spent his long lifetime transgressing all the rules and regulation of the holy scriptures, and he was eating the food prepared by the prostitute, and therefore he is full of sins, and he is unclean, and is addicted to the forbidden activities. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the importance of eating the Mahaprashadam. So like if we eat the food that is prepared by non-devotees, so that it will impact us, our consciousness. It will impact our consciousness. So that's why it is very important, and it is helpful for us to honor the Mahaprashadam, so that our consciousness will be saved from falling down into the path of the bhakti. So in the last sloka of today, the text 68, so the Ajamila did not undergo any atonement. Therefore, because of his sinful life, we must take him to the presence of Yamaraja for punishment. So of course, so this is the conversation between the Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas, and Vishnu Dutas asked the question, and Yamadutas here is mentioning why Ajamila should be taken to the abode of Yamaraj for punishment, because he hasn't done any atonement and he has done many sinful activities. So that's why he is a candidate to take to the hellish planet or to the abode of the Yamaraj, so that he can be punished. So of course, Prabhupada mentions that for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So if one commits murder, then he also must be killed. Otherwise, after death, he would be suffer many sinful reactions. So the punishment of Yamaraj is a process of purification for the sinful persons. So therefore, the Yamadutas is requesting here Vishnu Dutas not to obstruct their task, taking Ajamila to the abode of Yamaraj for the further punishment. So like that. So this pastime illustrates how, and also stresses how even a personality who has many wonderful good qualities would fall down from the path of bhakti. So if he has come and across to the situation where the environment is not conducive for the spiritual progress, so we should be very careful. And I'm talking to myself, and be in the association of the devotees all the time, and then be saved from falling down from the path of bhakti, so that being in the association with the devotees, we can also be able to progress in the path of bhakti. Thank you all for giving this opportunity. I'll pause it here. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.